They laughed when Grandpa left me a rusty car. 2 years later, they tried to sue me for it. Now it's worth $250,000. The refresh button on my browser was the only thing keeping me from having a cardiac event. I sat in my dimly lit kitchen, the glow of the laptop screen illuminating the empty pizza boxes and engine parts scattered across the table. It was Wednesday, February 4th, 8 p.m. The auction clock was ticking down. Time remaining, 15 minutes. Current bid, $248,500. I took a sip of lukewarm water, my hand shaking so badly that some of it spilled onto my shirt. I didn't care. I couldn't look away. Every time the number jumped, my heart did a somersault. This wasn't just money. This was vindication. This was a 2-year-long, I told you so, wrapped in a coat of Nightmist Blue paint. Then, my phone rang. It wasn't a bidder. It wasn't the auction house. It was Aunt Linda. I stared at the name flashing on the screen. I hadn't spoken to Linda in 24 months. Not since the day she laughed in my face and told me to enjoy my pile of tetanus. I picked up. I didn't say hello. I just listened to the heavy breathing on the other end. "You take it down," Linda hissed. Her voice was trembling, but not with fear. With rage. Pure, unadulterated entitlement. "You take that listing down right now, Jack. I mean it." "Hello to you too, Linda," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" "Don't play dumb with me," she shrieked. The audio distorted. She must have been screaming directly into the microphone. I saw the website. Brad showed me. $250,000. For that piece of junk in the barn. "You are trying to steal from this family." "I'm not stealing anything," I said, leaning back in my chair, watching the bid tick up to $252,000. "I'm selling my property. The property you and the rest of the family didn't want. Remember? We didn't know," she yelled. "Grandpa was sick. He wasn't in his right mind when he gave you that car. He probably thought it was a tractor. That belongs to the estate, Jack. It belongs to us. I've already called Mr. Henderson. We are filing an emergency injunction to stop the sale. You won't see a dime of that money. It's fraud." "Fraud?" I laughed. It was a dark, dry sound. "You signed the title, Linda. You, Uncle Bob, and Mom. You all signed the release of interest. I have the paper. We signed it because we thought it was scrap metal," she screamed. "That constitutes deception. You knew what it was. You swindled us." "I didn't know what it was," I said quietly. "I just knew it was Grandpa's. And unlike you, I actually cared about his things." "You have 1 hour," she threatened, her voice dropping to a low, venomous growl. "Pull the auction. Hand over the keys. Or we will bury you in legal fees so deep you'll be living in that car." "The auction ends in 12 minutes, Linda," I said. "You better bid if you want it." I hung up. I put the phone down on the table. My hands were still shaking, but now it was from adrenaline. She was coming for me. The whole family was coming for me. They smelled blood in the water, and they were sharks who hadn't eaten in a while. But sharks have a weakness. They have to keep moving to breathe. And Linda? Linda had just swum into a net I set 2 years ago. To understand why my family is trying to destroy me over a car, you have to understand the funeral. My grandfather, Earl, was a hard man. He worked steel for 40 years. He saved every penny. When he died, the vultures started circling before the body was even cold. We gathered at the farmhouse for the reading of the will. It wasn't a formal reading, it was just Linda, my Uncle Bob, and my cousin Brad tearing through the house like a SWAT team, putting sticky notes on everything they wanted. I want the silver, Linda announced, sweeping a drawer of cutlery into her purse. And the china. I'm taking the truck, Bob shouted from the driveway. And the tools. I stood on the porch, watching them pick the carcass clean. I didn't want the stuff. I wanted my grandpa back. He was the only one who ever gave a damn about me. When the lawyer finally arrived, he sat us down in the living room. The estate was substantial. There was about $500,000 in cash, the house, and the land. The will was simple. The cash and the real estate were to be divided evenly among his children, Linda, Bob, and my mother. I got nothing. Well, almost nothing. To my grandson, Jack, the lawyer read, adjusting his glasses. I leave the contents of the south barn. He always liked tinkering in there with me. It ain't much, but it's his. Linda laughed. She actually covered her mouth and snorted. The south barn, she cackled. The one with the raccoon infestation. Earl used that as a dumping ground for 40 years. It's full of rusty farm equipment and newspapers. Jack gets the trash, Cousin Brad sneered, high-fiving his dad. Fitting. I didn't say anything. I stood up and walked out to the south barn. It was falling down. The roof had collapsed in one corner. Vines were growing through the siding. I pushed the heavy, rotting doors open. It smelled of mold, mouse droppings, and old oil. There, in the center of the gloom, covered by 3 layers of heavy canvas tarps that had been chewed by rats, was a shape. I walked over. I pulled the tarp back. Dust billowed into the air, choking me. Underneath was a car. Or, the skeleton of a car. It was a Mustang fastback. But it was in terrible shape. The paint was peeling, revealing layers of rust. The tires were flat. The interior was a biohazard zone of rodent nests. The hood was sitting on the roof. Look at that beauty. Brad shouted from the doorway. He had followed me, phone in hand, recording for his Snapchat. Yo, check out Jack's inheritance. It's a literal pile of rust. Grandpa really got the last laugh, huh? Linda walked in behind him, holding a handkerchief to her nose. Ugh. It smells like death in here. Jack, you need to get this thing off the property. We're listing the house next month. If this, garbage, is still here, we're calling a scrapper to tow it. I'll take it, I said, running my hand over the cold, rough metal of the fender. You'll take it? Bob laughed. It'll cost you $500 just to tow it to the dump. The engine is probably seized solid. It's mine, I said. Grandpa left it to me. Fine, Linda waved her hand dismissively. Take it. But we need to sign the title transfer today. I don't want the estate liable for the disposal fees when you realize it's worthless. They were so eager. They were so desperate to wash their hands of the junk so they could get to the cash. We went back to the kitchen. The lawyer produced the title. It was old, yellowed paper from the 60s. Vehicle, 1967 Ford Mustang. They didn't even look at the VIN. They didn't care. Here, Linda shoved the pen at me. Sign here. And here. This states that you accept the vehicle in as-is condition and waive any claim to the rest of the estate's value in exchange for immediate possession. I signed. Then Linda signed as the executor. Bob signed as a witness. Enjoy your tetanus shot, loser, Brad laughed, zooming his phone camera in on my face as I held the keys, the only shiny thing left of the car. I towed it to my rental garage that night. It cost me my last $300. That was 2 years ago. For 2 years, I lived on ramen noodles. I worked double shifts at the machine shop. Every spare minute, every spare dime, went into that car. I started stripping it down. I expected it to be a standard Mustang GT. Maybe a 289 or a 390. Then I cleaned the engine block. It wasn't a 390. It was a 428 Police Interceptor V8. I froze. I was holding a rag soaked in degreaser, staring at the casting numbers. I ran to the glove box. I found the original build sheet, crumbled and stained with oil, tucked behind the liner. Shelby GT 500. My heart stopped. I ran the VIN. It wasn't just a Shelby. It was one of the first 50 ever made in 1967. It had the inboard headlights. It had the functional scoops. It wasn't junk. It was the Holy Grail. Grandpa knew. He had to know. He hid it. He buried it under tarps and trash to keep them away from it. To keep Linda away from it. He knew they would sell it for quick cash and blow it on vacations. He saved it for the one person who would bring it back to life. I didn't tell anyone. I went dark. I spent $20,000 on parts. I did the bodywork myself. I rebuilt the engine myself. I sourced original upholstery from a guy in Germany. Last week, I finished it. It was perfect. Nightmist Blue with Wimbledon white stripes. The engine roared like a lion waking up from a nap. I listed it on the auction site. I knew it would go high. I didn't expect this high. And now, with 12 minutes left on the clock, Linda had found out. Brad must have seen the listing online. The car is distinctive. The VIN was public. They were coming for me. The auction clock hit 5 minutes. Current bid, $265,000. My phone buzzed again. A text from Brad. Brad, you're dead meat, Jack. Mom just got off the phone with the lawyer. We're gonna sue you for fraud. We're gonna take the car and the money. You should have just told us. Greed doesn't pay. Greed, I whispered, reading the text. That's rich coming from you. I opened my laptop's file explorer. I navigated to a folder titled Insurance. Inside was a video file. grandpa_barn_transfer.mp4. 2 years ago, Brad had posted his mockery to his Snapchat story. Look at this idiot taking the trash. He had filmed the whole thing. He had filmed Linda laughing. He had filmed them signing the title. I had screen recorded it. I knew, even back then, that I might need it. I watched it. The video was shaky, vertical, filtered with some stupid caption. Linda, on video, I can't believe he's actually taking it. Earl was senile keeping that rust bucket. It's worth 0. Less than 0. Jack is doing us a favor. Bob, on video, hey Jack. Make sure you get your shots. Don't want to die of lockjaw before you get it to the dump. Brad, holding the camera, and here is the official signing away of the garbage. Sign here, Mom. Boom. It's his problem now. No take-backs. Linda, absolutely no take-backs. I wash my hands of it. It's all yours, Jack. Don't come crying to us when you can't pay the tow bill. I paused the video on Linda's face. She was smiling. She was lucid. She was explicitly stating that she knew the condition of the car, or thought she did, and was waiving all rights to it because she thought it was worthless. This wasn't a case of Grandpa being senile. This was a case of them being lazy and arrogant. They had every opportunity to inspect the car. They chose not to. They chose to mock it. They signed a contract based on their own assessment. I attached the video file to an email. I addressed it to the legal department of the auction house. I CC'd Linda's lawyer, whose email she had helpfully screamed at me during a previous argument about Grandma's jewelry. Subject, evidence regarding title dispute, lot number 4922. To whom it may concern. I have been informed that my family intends to contest the sale of the 1967 Shelby GT 500 currently on auction. Attached is video evidence from the date of transfer, February 2024. This video clearly demonstrates that the executors of the estate, Linda Vance, were fully aware of the transfer, were of sound mind, and explicitly waived all rights to the vehicle, characterizing it as a liability they wished to dispose of. Furthermore, they mocked the value of the asset and refused to inspect it properly. Their current claim of fraud is purely a reaction to the restored value of the vehicle, which is a result of my labor and investment, not the original condition of the asset. Please consider this a preemptive response to any injunction. Regards. Jack. I hit send. The auction clock hit 1 minute. Current bid, $275,000. The sniper bids came in. The price jumped. $280,000. $290,000. $300,000. Sold. Winning bid, $305,000. I stared at the screen. $305,000. I sat back in my chair. The adrenaline crashed, leaving me feeling lightheaded. I had done it. I had saved the car, and now I had saved myself. My phone rang again. It was Linda. I didn't answer. I let it ring. Then I blocked the number. The next morning, I got an email from the auction house legal team. Mr., my name. We received a communication from a Linda Vance attempting to halt the funds. We have reviewed the video evidence you provided. It is our opinion that her claims are meritless. The video clearly shows a consensual transfer of property with full intent to divest the estate of the item. We will proceed with the wire transfer to your account within 48 hours. Congratulations on the sale. I printed the email. I framed it. 2 days later, the money hit my account. $305,000 minus the auction fees. It was still more money than I had ever seen in my life. I paid off my student loans. I paid off the credit cards I maxed out for the car parts. I bought a small house, with a big garage. Linda didn't stop, of course. She filed a lawsuit in civil court. She claimed unjust enrichment. We went to mediation last month. I walked into the room wearing a nice suit. Linda was there with Brad. They looked angry. They looked tired. Her lawyer started talking about family equity and grandpa's intentions. My lawyer simply set up a laptop and played the video. Brad's voice, no take-backs. It's his problem now. Linda's voice, I wash my hands of it. Don't come crying to us. The mediator watched it. She tried to keep a straight face, but she failed. Ms. Vance, the mediator said, turning to Linda. You explicitly stated no take-backs. You characterized the asset as garbage. You declined to inspect it. The law does not protect you from making a bad deal because you were too lazy to check the VIN number. Linda turned purple. He tricked us. He cleaned it up. He restored it, the mediator corrected. He put $20,000 and 2 years of labor into it. That value belongs to him. The car you gave him was worth maybe $5,000 in scrap. If you want, I can ask him to write you a check for $5,000. But you aren't getting the $300,000. Linda stormed out. Brad followed her, shooting me a look that promised violence. I never wrote the check for the $5,000. I visited Grandpa's grave yesterday. I drove my new truck. I poured a little whiskey on the grass. We did it, Grandpa, I whispered. We got the last laugh. I kept one thing from the car. The original steering wheel. I mounted it on the wall of my new garage. Every time I look at it, I'm reminded that value isn't just about what something is worth on paper. It's about what you're willing to put into it. Linda saw a pile of rust. I saw a legacy. And in the end, she got exactly what she signed up for, nothing. So, tell me. Am I the monster for keeping the fortune I built from their trash, or did my family just learn the most expensive lesson of their lives about judging a book by its rusty cover?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.